Well, I don't know why I thought this show couldn't get any more traumatizing. Take notes, people. A cartoon is perfecting sci-fi horror anthology, and I keep falling for the idea that it'll be lighthearted romp just because it's a cartoon. I should really know better by now. Hello, cartoon fanatics, RJ here, and welcome to Cartoon Corner. If you haven't guessed, today we're diving into Book 3 of Infinity Train, back for another level of fun, whimsical, strong characters, emotional trauma. Basically, anytime we think there's no way this show can make things more intense, it does. In the best way, but the best way is also the way that rips my heart out of my soul. And, as you've probably guessed, major spoilers for all of Book 3 from here on out. I'm not here to traumatize you on purpose, I'm just the cartoon messenger. That makes sense, right? At the end of Book 2, we were introduced to the Apex, a group of mostly children who don't want to leave the train and run around like a version of the Lost Boys, destroying cars and getting their numbers up in order to not leave said train. This group is led by Grace and Simon, two young adults that keep the group together and encourage the destruction of denizens, the creatures that inhabit the train. They were clear antagonists in Book 2, so when it was discovered that these would be the characters Book 3 would focus on, some viewers were skeptical. We just spent the last book hating these characters, and now we're supposed to go on an emotional journey with them? I, for one, was curious as to how this would be done. Infinity Train's strong suit is that anthology format, the fact that it can focus on various characters with entirely different situations. And if you've noticed, we're usually introduced to our next set of leads within the previous season. Metal Tulip, or MT, from Book 1 became our lead Lake for Book 2 with Jesse and Alan Dracula, and now here we are with Grace and Simon for Book 3. Considering that these two are purposefully trying to get their numbers up completely changes the motivations of the characters from the past two seasons, which makes any growth within Grace and Simon much more fascinating. What happens if you don't want to leave, and yet your number goes down? Book 3 ain't playing easy, as we immediately get hit within the first 5 episodes. We see what a daily routine is for Grace and Simon and the Apex kids. We see the close relationship between Grace and Simon, two people that have stuck together for years. Years. Simon ended up on the train when he was only 10, and now he's in his early 20s. We don't exactly get Grace's age of how old she was when she got on the train, but we learn later on that she was also basically a kid when she first got on board. It helps us understand that despite there being people of all ages on the train, Grace and Simon only allow children to join Apex. During one of their rampages, the two leaders get separated from the rest of the Apex. As they're venturing back, they encounter a gorilla denizen named Tuba, aka the sweetest mom figure in the whole show, and Hazel, a young girl with an odd situation. Her number doesn't glow. Despite her odd appearance and her attachment to Tuba, Grace wants to take Hazel in as a new member of the Apex, and it's a journey for the 4 of them to get to the Apex car while unraveling the secret behind Hazel's number. As they travel, Grace really warms up to Hazel, and even a little bit to Tuba, mostly because Tuba is so important to Hazel. Simon, on the other hand, really wants nothing to do with the denizen, and we get a bit of his backstory in the snow car. The team gets stuck at a lodge with who else but the cat, or as I like to call her, Janeway Cat. However, this time we learn Janeway Cat was Simon's first companion on the train, and she ran away and left him to fend for himself. It's really interesting to get some backstory for not just Simon, but the cat as well. We see how these interactions when Simon first entered the train influenced his decisions as a young adult. And while his story is sad, it does not justify his actions. The same goes for Grace once we learn the story of how she got on the train. And it's this deviation between two characters that seem to flow so well together that is the real core of Book 3. And from here, things just hit the fan. Or the wheel. No, that didn't feel right the moment it left my mouth. As they're escaping a moving train car at the end of episode 5, Simon and Tuba end up on opposite sides from Grace and Hazel. For most of this episode, we were seeing glimpses of Simon and Tuba possibly getting along. But all of that is just demolished when Simon flat out murders Tuba, chucking her to be crushed under the train wheels. Infinity Train! Follow along as opposing sides start to become friends and then watch a tortured man-child murder an innocent gorilla. And this is where we see the real color show and the potential Infinity Train has now that it's on HBO Max. Because it's on a streaming service, there may not be as many limitations to what horrible things they can do to the characters. And honestly, I'm still shocked that they have this show listed under 4 kids, because if anything, I'd say it's at least geared for 13 plus. I saw more traumatizing adult-heavy themes in this season than I arguably have in all of Rick and Morty. Oh no, but we're not done yet! Because after Simon reunites with the group and proudly declares what he's done, a horrified Hazel runs off and Grace catches up with her, only to discover that Hazel is not a passenger, but a denizen! Infinity Train! Become a motherly figure to an adorable young girl and then find out she's this turtle demon with cries that'll stay in your head forever. Ugh, I'm gonna have dreams about that noise tonight. I'm gonna take a moment while I am trying to burn that sound out of my brain to say how great it was that Book 3 wasn't released all at once. These first 5 episodes came out together, leaving everyone traumatized and demanding answers that we had to wait a whole week for. It was a great way to encourage viewers to get on again the second the next set of episodes dropped. And since this whole season kind of spread out over the course of 3 weeks instead of dumping everything over the course of 1 week, it also gave time for people to process what was happening and explore what was going on with the characters. Real great stuff, even if it is burning my soul out. So, after that massive bombshell, Grace is still determined to protect Hazel and let her join the Apex. Now, in order to do so, she keeps Hazel's identity a secret from Simon. And this begins to drive an even stronger wedge between their friendship and partnership. Simon resorts to going to the cat to get information, which, side note, having the cat's name be Samantha feels so appropriate I almost didn't realize he said her name during my first watch. And the growing conflict between the 2 Apex leaders results in them discovering the former conductor herself, Amelia. Now this is an interaction I've been dying to see. The creator of Infinity Train, Owen Dennis, had stated in the past that Amelia has a pretty strong distaste of children, and that if she ever encountered the Apex, she would not be pleased. We get to see that in full force. Now an assistant to 1-1 and sporting a new fancy outfit, Amelia has been tracking down a force that has been separating the train cars. She links the unusual source to Hazel, who is now not only a denizen, but a creation of Amelia's, not 1-1. The number on Hazel's hand is the number Amelia had when she first entered the train, and that leads to so many different questions about what this means for Hazel's identity and what her purpose is, if her existence is causing the train to go bonkers, but none of that is really explored here. And nor it should be. This season is specifically focused on Grace and Simon. Hazel is simply a catalyst to allow these two to see things differently. Grace beginning to realize the truth of the train, and Simon stubbornly refusing to see the facts presented right in front of his face. Still having Hazel as an open-ended mystery leads to some potential for a future season, so she and Amelia leave the Apex leaders to suffer their own consequences. Hazel scolds Grace for always trying to play both sides just to keep her and Simon happy. Simon infiltrates Grace's memories and becomes more infuriated when he realizes Grace has been lying to him, and forces Grace to become stuck in her own memories, possibly for all of eternity. It's finally at this point, oh gosh, oh, that's disgusting. Oh, what was I saying again? I'm sorry, that I felt an actual nauseous reaction watching that. Right. It's finally at this point where Grace fully understands why they're on the train and what she needs to do. She begins to accept her faults, accept that she can't always pretend to be the strong leader when she has no idea what she's doing. And finally, she reunites with the other Apex, standing off in a final showdown between her and Simon. And speaking of Simon, boy, has he been doing some number climbing. Yikes. I really like the parallels to the first episode where we saw Grace and Simon descend the escalators side by side. And now it's just Simon, descending on a throne he's forcing the Apex kids to carry. And what's arguably more important, Simon is completely irredeemable. That isn't to say he didn't have chances to be redeemed. We see moments of vulnerability with Samantha and with Grace, somewhat of an understanding with Tuba, and possible flickers of opportunity for him to change. But when those opportunities came, Simon doubled down on his pain and stubbornness. He wasn't as open to accepting his truth as much as Grace. So in the end, he was unredeemable. And that's not something we see in animation very often anymore, especially with animation that's supposedly aimed at younger audiences. A lot of modern cartoons fall under what I like to call the My Little Pony villain approach, where eventually the villain or antagonist is redeemed and becomes a force of good. Now, there's nothing wrong with showing how you can give people second chances, but there's also a lot in showing that there are some people that will never change, no matter how many chances you give them. It's up to themselves to change, and in Simon's case, his unwillingness led to madness, and his ultimate demise in the most gruesome thing I saw all week. Infinity Train! Rescue your closest friend, only to have him try to murder you, and then watch as he gets disintegrated Raiders of the Lost Ark style. There's a lot to process in those few minutes. Are we done now? Have I said the Infinity Train dramatic joke enough times? I feel like I've done it 3 times more than I normally do in these reviews. So we started with a pretty large ensemble of 4 characters, and in the end, it's just Grace. She descends the escalator one more time, not as the leader of Apex, but as a woman unsure of what to do. She accepts that she doesn't know everything, and encourages the other members of Apex to make their own decisions, thus ending the cult of the conductor and beginning a group of passengers ready to face their personal trials and grow. What a season. There's not much else to say. This is currently top tier for Infinity Train. Each season, this show has proven that it can expand its universe, provide hard-hitting morals and characters, and most importantly, really emotionally tear you apart. It's horrible and fantastic in the best of ways, and it's a show that is constantly hanging on the balance. As of right now, Infinity Train hasn't been renewed for a book 4. But hey, it wasn't renewed for books 2 and 3 until we demanded it. This is a show that has been completely fueled into existence by the fans. And seeing its progression from a minisode on Cartoon Network's YouTube page to an intense and exciting show, which is accessible now on a streaming platform. We've seen this show's potential, and hopefully we'll see more of it. At this point, it's up to us to keep fueling the fire that keeps the Infinity Train running. I really hope this script made some kind of sense. I've been trying to write this thing for the past 2 weeks, and nothing is worse than trying to make something when you're on complete burnout and wanting to do it correctly. But hey, if you liked my ramblings on the Infinity Train, put a thumbs up and press that like button. We've been busy reacting to both the Owl House and Amphibia, so you can find those reactions in the description below. I'll probably get around to a summary of Owl House and Amphibia once things settle down a bit. Also, I need an update. My hair is not this short anymore. Until next time.